let's talk about the most exciting game or the most blowout game that happened last night. The Warriors versus Kings. It was a game 7. It was in the Kings arena, in the Sacramento arena. Warriors were handicapped to some extent because they were not playing they were playing on the road. They were not playing at home. They had a terrible record on the road, but still they managed to pick out a victory. Clay Thompson probably not shooting as much as he should have. Clay Thompson not showing up as the game 7 Clay Thompson, but Steph Curry putting in a half century of points. I mean, most points ever in a game 7 matchup. What do you guys have to say about the crazy game that happened last night?
And you all said this man was not clutch.
Definitely.
How dare you? And I think last time Angad had something interesting to say about. Oh no, was it Srijan who had something interesting to say about the GOAT conversation and LeBron being like head and shoulders above Steph Curry? I don't think so. I don't think
I
so.
still believe in that
Oh.
fact, sir.
Facts are LeBron and Steph have the same amount of rings. But anyways, not digressing too much from the matchup like last night. Amazing game, but still wasn't so much of a team effort for me. For me, like two people showed out the most. Obviously, it was Steph with that 50 burger and something underrated: 8 rebounds, 6 assists. Uh, and he's a complete player. He drove most of the game. He was unstoppable at the rim, and he had those tough threes. Uh, and I think one issue from what I saw from Mike and the Kings strategy, he went early with Terrence Davis on him, and he just never changed that plan until it was like too late. I think at the very end he tried to double him, and he had sparing success with it, where the Warriors did not score on some possessions. Granted, they beat that double team some of the times, and they started to do that early, but they broke those double teams early. But he never went back to it. He never changed the defender, and I think he should have probably played uh, Mitchell more. That he would have been a stopper for him. He has been, but yeah, I think they missed out on that. But other than that, Kavan Olajuwon siding again, 21 rebounds and 10 offensive boards. This man is a beast, man. And he was making like the Kings look so small, and he was making them pay for it. I think I read the stat that the Warriors had like 13 offensive boards just in the third quarter. So that was massive. That's when the game changed completely. And I think that's when it got out of the hands of the Kings. And for the most part, the Kings were leading. And then they completely flipped the script, and just the Kings could never climb back into that game. And then they looked deflated by the middle of the fourth. And it was just basically game over by then.
Yeah, pretty much. Till the second quarter, I mean, Kings were in the lead for some time. I mean, they had a 5 point lead, which was the highest Kings lead for the entire game. But man, oh man, when the third quarter came. So, first of all, I want to give some props to Draymond Green. I mean, I saw him play really well. A lot of outlet passes, a lot of bounce passes to Kevin Olajuwon, who, if not scoring, he passed it out. And it was a good play regardless. I think Draymond setting a screen for Steph, and then Kevon getting a backdoor cut. I mean, that play, I think I saw it ran at least thrice in the second quarter itself, and it produced something or the other. It was the first play in the game itself, and that it got him a open layup on Keegan Murray. So, I mean, that's also going to be something that they can look forward to, especially later on in the playoff series. But man, oh man, Steph, and I have to say, Steph was the only guard who was going out there, and he really wanted this win, because you could see, right, like Sujit pointed out in the last podcast as well, Clay absolute, I mean, disaster fire. I mean, I cannot even say. I mean, he had a good shot starting the game, and then he got fouled on the 3 point line, so he got 5 points, quick 5 points, and after that, I did not see him make a shot till like third quarter. He was literally so bad. I mean, they could have subbed him out, and they would have won by 30 points probably. 2 for 10 from the 3 point line. Jordan Poole again. The problem with Jordan Poole, I often feel, is the decision making. Right, he is young. 2 years ago, he was in G League, but Raj and I were talking about this, that whenever he runs to the basket, whenever he's attacking the basket, it's like, yeah, this man can go past anyone. There's no one defending him, and then he makes a bonehead play. He just throws the ball, or he takes a
Yeah,
tough acrobatic layup, and that's the problem with Jordan Poole for sure. I
I
think.
think initially it was much worse, wherein he always tried to just get out of that contact, even, and he would contort his body into crazy angles and just try to finish it, and it looked really stupid. And sometimes he still does that, and sometimes he flails a lot to just exaggerate contact. I mean, he's the only one that gets those fouls, so sometimes the flopping works, but most of the times it's exactly what you said. It's indecision, it's poor decision making, and I think he will get better with time and he needs some experience, but I think he needs to be a bit more on a shorter leash with those things. He probably needs to be disciplined more about those things, because other than that, he has a very good offensive game because of his first step, because of his speed. And I think he's always going 100 miles an hour, and he probably needs to learn how to control that, how to tame that advantage more. Just like probably like Fox, or like John Wall in the beginning of his career, where he just went always 100 miles, and or like even Westbrook at times went 100 miles an hour, and his decision making was sometimes very poor, and he just throw the ball away. I think it was his game is similar to that. Probably not as explosive or as athletic as Westbrook or Wall, probably, but like in terms of speed and using that speed, not going 100 miles an hour all the time, stopping and going and change of speed. And I think beating them, being very decisive with these things, I think that some of that will come with time, but some of it needs to be corrected, uh, working on it with the coaching staff. And I think some of it needs to be from his own end as well.
For sure. I mean, he has a lot of players who can guide him definitely. And this year, I mean, this is probably the last year where Jordan Poole could be seen as a younger player, because next year, even though he's been in the league for now 4 years, I mean, he's going to be on the max contract on the 128 million, 28 mil average a year. I mean, he's going to be looked at as one of the league out most paid guards. I mean, probably in the top 10 most paid guards in the league right now. And I think the
And
Westbrook comparison really makes sense, because Westbrook, you can see Westbrook blow by past people even now, even at this age. 5 years
yeah,
removed from his MVP season,
right.
but it's not always drive and kick that's gonna work. Um, I'm gonna talk about the Kings next, and De'Aaron Fox had that injury and he played through it in Game 6. But we talked a lot about this, right? Game 6, Mike Brown really outcoached. He coached circles around Steve Kerr with that small ball lineup. And I don't know why, after that third quarter, where they were obviously getting destroyed on rebounds with Sabonis anyway, I think they should have gone with Keegan Murray at the 4 and realized at the 5, because it showed a lot of promise in Game 6. I think Mike Brown was really hesitant because he wanted Fox to just be that man in Game 7, and he wanted his normal production from Malik Monk, and those guys shot like under 30% from the field. And
But
obviously,
I think,
you're going to have bad nights. Sorry, Rudrash, I'm cutting you off.
yeah,
Go ahead.
no, I'm sorry, I'm cutting you off. But regardless, what I wanted to point out was that, um, other than the fact that Keegan was good offensively, I think they picked on him on defense all series long, so he might not have been the best option as well. But I think where Malik and Fox faltered in this game probably was that they didn't go to the line as much, they didn't drive as much. Like as you saw in that game, they were constantly going to the rack, and even in previous games where Malik has been the best, it's been when he's going down the lane and challenging the rim, where he's just unstoppable, which has been a problem for the Warriors for forever now, that they can't guard athletic players, and uh, they'd be happy to give up those threes because that's what they can actually contest. But at the rim, they don't have like a essentially like a proper shot blocker like an AD or a Jaren Jackson Jr. who can just be a defensive presence in the paint. So I think that's where they messed up a little bit, and that's sort of inexperience. You can say that there was a poor shot selection there, and they just tightened up in a tough game 7. They'd never had faced something of a game 7, So
Yeah.
inexperience or like bad shot selection, just whatever you want to chalk that up to. But I think yes, Mike surprised Kerr last game, but I think he made those adjustments as well, wherein he finally leaned on that high pick and roll with Steph, which allowed him to get unlocked, and he stopped running that motion offense so much, and it paid dividends. Steph had 50. He was the only offensive player for the Warriors, I think.
I mean, it was Steve Kerr was absolutely brilliant in this game where he did not try to do a lot of things that he was trying to do in the past two games and did not try to experiment at all. He went with his basic lineup with with Jordan Poole coming off the bench and not starting with the three shooter lineup. And I think so that played well for him. And he also he was very traditional in the approach, wherein he was like, I'll do what has always worked for me and I'll bank on that. And that is the kind of coaching that Steve Kerr showed in this particular in this particular matchup, and I think so it worked well since these players have been. I mean, talking about the big three in that team, Cameron, talking about the Green and Clay, and talking about Steph. They have been playing together for a very long time, right? And so it just worked well in their favor. And talking about Steph Curry, he was absolutely amazing. Even though Clay Thompson did not come into the game, did not show up, Steph Curry said that I am backing my team on my back, and I am taking them home, right? And that is that is the kind of caliber that shows that Steph Curry has. I think so. If we are talking about Clay Thompson, I would say that he was trash this game. Right, I wouldn't say that it was law of averages. I wouldn't say that it was him not performing. He needs to perform in game sevens like this if he is considered as the biggest player that he wants to be. I mean, these are games where you do not let the law of averages affect you. These are the games where you take the ownership and perform and go in the game. I mean, Steph Curry had to score 50 points and scored 50 points because no one else on his team was scoring, and that is why he had to push a little harder. Could have been catastrophic for the team as well if Steph Curry pushing so much would have been injured. I think so. I understand that the law of averages come into the game, but that is not the excuse for Clay Thompson to performing this trash in a game seven where it mattered the most, where they could have probably packed their bags, gone home, and never seen the light of day.
To your point, I feel like he didn't make his shots, but from game six, it was a much bigger improvement. Where in game six, he was trying to force shots, he was taking really tough shots. But this game, Kerr got him really good shots, but they were just not falling. He had a lot of open shots that just missed. But he hit some timely buckets to help the Warriors, but also I think he was good on the defensive end. So he wasn't totally a negative, because if you check out his plus minuses, he was a very good plus, and I think his defense contributed a lot to that. He had good defense on that end. Probably not one of his best games, not defending him, but I think Clay is that kind of a player where he's a rhythm player. We all know that. But once like he's hot, he can give you 60 in three quarters. But once he's bad, he can shoot you out of a game, like Angad has said in the past. So with
Yeah,
him, he's not the most consistent player, but you obviously want him for those crazy highs. But sometimes you have to take him for his crazy lows as well. But I think he fought much better in this game than he did like in the previous game. It was an overall team effort that I felt like that was much better. The mental was much better for this team in this game.
for sure. And that's been a criticism for Steve Kerr. I mean, for the last 3 4 years, right? That you want to play all this Warriors offense, all these people just running around and everything. But sometimes the simple things like this pick and roll with Steph and Draymond, they're
Yeah,
gonna work because
exactly.
they are two of the best players, and those are two guaranteed first ballot Hall of Famers, right? Those things are gonna work. And this match, I mean, if you've heard us in the last few podcasts too, alluding that Steph needs to just knock down like 30 shots a game, and he shouldn't. Sometimes he just doesn't need to care about the offense, right? That everyone else gets his shots up, but just go for 40 points. Right? Tonight, 38 points, efficiently scoring over 50%, 39% from three. That's been his splits throughout this series as well. And he got 50 points. I mean, what else do you want, right?
Do you
And this,
do you see like a similarity between Jimmy Butler and the Miami offense? and Steph Curry and the Golden State on offense. Like not in terms of offense, but to what you said, that sometimes Jimmy just tries to get everybody involved and he doesn't get his, and sometimes that goes
I mean,
not so
not for
right.
this
And
playoff series because Jimmy has been getting his this playoff series for
no,
sure.
exactly. That's what I mean. That's what I mean. That when he tries to get his, when he just goes berserk and just scores all the points for Miami, they just look unstoppable. Whereas when he tries to be that playmaker, where he tries to get everybody involved, sometimes that doesn't work out. And
I
I
mean, you can
saw
definitely
somewhat of a
see,
similarity.
yeah, you can definitely see those parallels because both these teams have high volume 3-point shooters, right? And it's all about getting that three going in. If you have someone on fire, you want to keep feeding him the ball, right? And just like Warriors, I mean, Miami Heat have some players who can just go wild,